Hello again and welcome to another episode of Outside the Echo Chamber. I'm your host, Rick Lord, and we are on location today at Go Mart Ballpark to talk baseball. And of course, if you're talking minor league baseball in Charleston, who better to start off with than Rod Blackstone? We'll call him the unofficial ambassador of minor league baseball in Charleston. We go back 20 years since I first started at WCHS doing
I remember
sports.
you at the old ballpark back in the day.
And I remember you doing schedules by hand.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about that off the top because I'm racking my brain trying to think how someone can sit there and by hand draw out an entire schedule for an entire league. And remember, the Sally League at that time stretched from up in mid-Appalachia all the way down to the Gulf Coast of Mexico.
Not quite that far, but
Right?
it was from Savannah, Georgia to Cleveland,
that's almost the
Ohio,
Gulf.
from Lakewood, New Jersey to Rome, Georgia.
And with travel restrictions in place at that time, with facilities being used by other events that with blackout dates, I can't even imagine how you would have to sit there and do by hand schedules.
I might have been
for every
more
team.
stupid than most people because I keep hearing that there are all these computer programs that are beyond
Sure.
my comprehension. But it's a puzzle. I mean, it's a puzzle. You're fitting the pieces together, and I still think I could do it probably better than some of the schedulers that I've seen, schedules that I've seen come out.
Well, I wanted to start 20 years ago because it's been a long journey from
Yes.
then till now. Back then at Watt Powell Park, we saw the going through many different affiliations: Blue Jays, Brewers, Pirates, and then team name switches from Alley Cats to the Power. And now we're sitting here with an independent league with the Dirty Birds. What's your take on how minor league baseball has evolved and adapted over the years here in Charleston?
I think it's adapted pretty well because I think we've come close to losing baseball here a few times, especially toward the end of the Watt Powell Park years whenever Tom Dixon and Sherry Myers bought the team in 2001 and said, oh, we'll keep it here, but only if you build us a new ballpark.
Right.
And I'm absolutely convinced today that they bought the team so they could move a team to Montgomery, Alabama, which they did subsequently after they sold it to the local owners who helped build this ballpark and opened it in 2005. So we've almost lost baseball. When Major League Baseball decided to expel us along with 42 other communities from its minor league system, we almost lost baseball. And that's when Andy Shea stepped in and said, hey, I really want to be in the Atlantic League. We've been doing this and we've figured out how to do this over in Lexington. Let's join the Atlantic League together to start in 2021 after the 2020 season was lost. And that's when Major League Baseball did its contraction, as they call it. I call it the great expungement, unfortunately. But,
and you mentioned Andy Shea. He's the owner and CEO of the Dirty Birds. We'll be talking to him in a little bit later on in this show. But interesting background for him is that he did have a lot of experience with the Lexington Legends at the time, who at that moment were rivals with
they still are.
The Power.
we just had a crew over last weekend.
Kind of boat together and
Yes.
knowing, and we had discussions back in 2019 when this was all starting to come down the pike, and the writing was on the wall, and it had a lot to do with a lot of things, not just the population of Charleston or the fan base or lack thereof, but just the geography. And when people say, well, the Reds are right down the road, but it's not just that. It's about where the other teams are, and with the restrictions that are in place. We kind of knew that Major League Baseball not necessarily was targeting places like Lexington and Charleston, but that we were right in the middle of that chopping block.
Yeah, unfortunately, and I did make the argument, and we did make the argument, but it failed to say, hey, we are kind of central to single A baseball, especially in the eastern part of the country. But it is what it is, and it happened, and you can't really sit back and say, oh well, if only we were here or there. You got to live without regret in life.
It was a battle, though, and you went to bat. No pun intended, but you went to bat for minor league baseball and those affiliations here in Charleston. A lot of people know you as the guy that throws toast at their head during games, but they don't realize. And we have a mascot down. What they don't understand is the work that you put in diligently behind the scenes. You've poured your heart and soul into minor league baseball here.
Well, Jeremy Taylor, JT, our general manager, has for 20 years as well, because he's actually done every job in this place, and so he and I were, as my mother used to say, dying 1,000 deaths during that time. But we solicited the help of a lot of different people. Senator Manchin, Senator Capito, both were very helpful at the time. Governor Justice stepped up. The legislature passed a resolution saying, hey, Congress, don't do this to us. Don't do this to West Virginia. Don't turn your back on West Virginia. Because at this point in time, we are the only professional baseball team left. The other three that were in the old system are now effectively college level summer leagues. And so we're the only professional team left in West Virginia when Major League Baseball decided to say, okay, we're not going to care as much about West Virginia and keep them in our system.
Yeah, and at that point, the only path forward was independent leagues. We'll get into
Right.
with Andy a little bit about how that transpired and what that means. But I just wanted to introduce you to maybe a whole new generation of kids that are growing up to watch baseball. Older people here, I shouldn't say older, and you're getting me in trouble, but people, wiser people that have been around for a while,
More
know who
seasoned.
you are, know what you do. They've seen the Toastman routine. For people that might be like, why is that guy chucking toast at people? What was the genesis of that? How did that come to be, and where have you been able to take that?
Well, I grew up outside of Pittsburgh, so I was a Pirate fan by birth and remember watching Roberto Clemente and Willie Stargell play. So minor league baseball, when I first moved to Charleston in 1987, was beneath me, I thought. That was the same year as the Wheelers came back into existence after a 3-year hiatus after the Charlies left to go to Maine. So, but my friend George Manahan convinced me to go in 1990. It happened to be when the Wheelers got hot and won the league championship, and that's when I discovered minor league baseball and thought, this is really fun. This is really cool. We need to get more people into it. So we started leading cheers for every player that when they came up to bat, and somebody said, it wasn't me, somebody said, "You are toast" to a batter as they walked past, going back to their dugout in front of us. And I thought, well, that'll cheer.
The light bulb went off.
So we started cheering it, and then in 1992, Dennis Bastine said, well, let's make toast in the ballpark. He was the owner. So you can plug in a toaster in play through the chain link fence that was at Watt Powell Park with the Bat Boys' help. And we
It was a
started making
setup.
toast. It really was, and at least whenever this place was built, they kind of
There's a rumor that
accommodated.
that was a rider in the contract, that they're not building this place until they can put an outlet behind home
It
plate
was
for
not
you.
my idea, but I am grateful that they did, because it makes it so much easier to be me and do what we do. So then toast became, hey, let's distract. It's a distraction. Good heckling is distracting. It doesn't
Getting their
have to
mind
be
off
negative.
what they're doing.
Exactly. If they're laughing at what we're saying, if they're thinking about what we're saying rather than the next pitch or the next play, then we just might have an advantage. And I think we've had some impact over the years whenever I get the reactions from players who look up at us with a scowl or a smile.
I've seen players before they even get to the plate that realize, oh yeah, we're at the place where that toast guy is.
Yeah, that guy. That guy's here.
You can see it in their face.
Now, just think what happens whenever we take, I don't take the show on the road, but we do have some fans who like to travel to Lexington. We just went up to Lancaster. We've been down to High Point and other places. And every once in a while, whenever just out of the blue, you hear, "Fire up the toaster." I'm like, oh my gosh, he's here.
Right.
So yeah, we have fun. And the toast section has been expanding the last few years, where we have, I think, about 6 more people as season ticket holders that never even came 2 years ago. So
Any anecdotes to share? Any mishaps with, you're talking about electric devices and baseball and smoke and all that can go into it?
Well, the toast has caught fire twice over the years, because it's actually, you can make it and you double burn it and it becomes like charcoal.
That's got to be against the rules in some way.
Well, I do try to at least put it out right away, but fortunately there's a lot of concrete down there so we can do it. But it's a lot of fun. Fundamentally, it's about fun. What can we do to make it more fun? Because that's what this is all about. This is a show in many ways.
And it should go without saying, but kids, if you happen to be sitting in the vicinity and you catch one, it's not that it's inedible, but I wouldn't suggest eating the toast.
Don't eat the toast. You don't know where it's been. Because I try to be a
recycle it.
responsible citizen and reuse, recycle from the
Sure.
night before, the homestand before. So
Gotcha.
So it comes in handy. But we've made a lot of memories. We've made a lot of friends with people over the years. The good thing about baseball here is that you have some guys who've been in the major leagues.
Huh.
You just saw Bobby Bradley, who played in Cleveland last year, and he's leading our team in slugging percentage and OPS.
Yeah.
And is a real threat. We've seen Dwight Smith is one of our leading hitters. He played in the Major League Baseball. And so you see a lot of higher quality play. They're older guys, and they're trying to get rediscovered as opposed to discovered as they climb the ladder. These are
It's
guys
a different
trying to
paradigm
get
for
back
sure.
in.
And we'll talk to Andy about that too, because going independent brings new challenges as well as it's not just all drawbacks. There's some interesting opportunities too when you're not affiliated with a major league franchise.
And that's absolutely true, and he can address that better than I can. One of the things that's been fun for me is to see some of the guys that were in the South Atlantic League are now in the Atlantic League,
Right.
and they come back here and like, oh no, here we go.
Are
you still
get it on
doing
the way
that?
up and
Yes,
on the way out?
exactly.
Yeah, I hear you.
We're still here, and we're still having fun. So join the fun.
You've brought up fun a lot now, and that's apropos to what we're talking about, because especially on the minor league level, it's not just about the baseball. It might have been back in the 70s when you're talking about guys like Dave Parker, when you're a AAA affiliate closely associated with the major league team, when you can see these guys, and a lot of times even if they're already in the majors and stars, they have rehab assignments, and you can have a chance to see, wow, Dave Parker in his prime played baseball.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the same here. At this level, is it more about entertaining?
Oh, yes,
Is it more about
absolutely.
having fun than just the baseball?
I think it is across minor league baseball, because you don't necessarily have control in affiliate baseball of the outcome, because you're assigned the players in that sense. So a lot of the research over the years has said what you want people to do as they're leaving the stands is be able to answer this question: hey, did you have fun tonight? And if the answer is yes, you don't need to ask them, what was the score? Who's our team affiliated with? Who's playing for our team? Because they'll enjoy the experience.
Right.
One of the things, twice this year, I've seen just hundreds and maybe even 1,000 smiles leaving this ballpark. The Savannah Banana games, just about everybody seemed to be really, really happy as they were leaving. Pride Night was another example of that. So many people were here. So many people probably didn't care whether we won or lost. But that's what we want to do. If everybody in this entire region came once to a game, we'd be breaking attendance records.
Right.
And be able to make it sustainable over the long term.
And there are those types of events and those types of things that are happening here coming up soon. Even this Monday, there's a huge July 4th bonanza.
Salute to Service by AARP, and we're going to have the super mega blast fireworks shot from center field, where it's up close and personal. One of the best fireworks shows you'll see.
It is a good
around
show.
Here. And we've got a Women's Making a Difference night that we're adding to the Pride Night, to the African American Heritage Night, as we reach out into the community. This year we're starting to join in the Latin Identity crusade campaign that Major League Baseball's been doing with its affiliates and its partner leagues, since that's what we are now. So we're 5 times this year, we're playing as the Spanish words for dirty birds as pájaros sucios.
Wow, you did that well. That rolled off the tongue.
I've been practicing a lot. In fact, I practiced the last half hour just to make sure I got it right. No, but reaching out into the community, because that's the other thing that we want to do. We want to make sure that baseball is able to reach people who are non-traditional fans, because the unfortunate part about baseball in general is that, yeah, baseball fans, we grew up with it, but we're not normal. No offense.
My wife tells me that every day.
But a lot of people are out there who don't care about baseball, don't care about the difference between the outcome of a 2-1 pitch and how that affects the at-bat.
The nuances, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, no, all the metrics are involved now with all those guys.
Which I can't do that either.
Yeah.
But they want to have fun. They want to be entertained. They want to go someplace where they can have conversation. That's how we met.
Yeah.
Talking at a ball game. Well, you shouldn't say that's how we met. That's how we got to know each other better, was being able to talk in between pitches or in between innings and get to know each other.
That is what's unique to baseball is,
Sociable.
Yeah, and it's an event, and it's one of the, I'm just going to go out, and oh, by the way, there's a baseball game going on, but there's all this happening too. And, moving down the line, that's probably where this is going to have to go to make it more family friendly and to introduce it to a whole new audience. It used to be that baseball, and it was called the national pastime for a reason, they didn't have to do anything, and they almost kind of rested on their laurels.
And it was pastime.
And and they've been overtaken by NFL's king now. There's no doubt about it. NFL and America's king. So now you have this whole new generation that might not know what baseball has meant, the history behind it, and baseball's starting to adapt and figure that out. Some of the rules changes that come down the pike to make it more watchable, to get games moving a little bit.
And that's happened here this year. They started the pitch clock
Right.
here. They've started Major League Baseball level too. And we already see the difference. I mean, in the last few years, there have been times where 3.5 hours later, and especially if you had a rain delay, there'd be a dozen of us here at
And you can't bring a
11:30.
kid out to the ballpark and keep him there till midnight on a school night.
Exactly. And then the fireworks that attract people, well, at least every Saturday night here at the ballpark, the fireworks, you can't wait that long. And then kids have got to go home. The kids are where it's at. I mean, we have to be able to reach out to children, to be able to instill in them the love for the game that they will carry on with them, like you and I had, and like so many other people had as we were growing up. So how do you reach the kids? You got to make it fun. You got to have little giveaway items occasionally and stuff that's going to get their attention, so that they'll be going home and saying, Mom, Dad, let's go back again. And so that's what we're trying to do. All kinds of different ways that we can reach into the community and say, you are welcome here. We want you here. We want you to join the fun here. And at the same time, watch some drama that unfolds on the field as we cheer on our home team and try to have a little bit of fun with the opposition.
Where do you see this headed now as we move into the future?
I think it takes a community to continue to sustain it. We are the smallest market in the Atlantic League. We are one of the smallest markets in affiliated baseball. So it is not a given that this will be here forever. We weathered some storms. We had local ownership step up when Tom and Sherry said, well, we can't wait any longer, we're out. We had other local business people that stepped up and kept the team here in the 90s when Dennis Bastine sold it. We've had Andy Shea come in and save baseball here when Major League Baseball said, you're not going to be part of the system anymore. So the more community support we have, the better it's going to be. And that's not just people coming out on a regular basis. Hey, let's go to a ball game tonight. Let's support this while we have it. And I don't see it going away anytime soon. Right. Don't get me wrong about that. But it has to be intentional to be sustained. And that includes business support. And fortunately, our support from the business community is growing in the last few years. It includes attendance, and that's starting to grow. We've turned the corner on that, and that's going up again. So that's all encouraging, but it needs to continue. Again, if everybody in the 3-county, 4-county, 5-county area came once, we'd be sustainable forever.
All right, well, you mentioned Andy Shea again, owner and CEO of the Dirty Birds. We're going to speak to him on the other side of this break. We want to thank Rod Blackstone for joining us. Always a pleasure, Rod. And
I could talk for hours, you know that.
We'll see you out at the park, and we'll be right back with more Outside the Echo Chamber after this.
August 5th, 2013 was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. It turned into a nightmare.
Harmony was too big for me to pass through my pelvis. They thought the best option was to put the vacuum on her.
She begged for a C-section over and over and over. They wanted to rush through it. Once Harmony came out, it probably wasn't 5 minutes. They rushed her to NIC unit, and then her head swelled the size of a watermelon. It pretty much crushed her whole skull. Ben Salingo was recommended to us by a family friend that he had represented.
Having Ben Salingo on our side changed everything for the better.
From day one, he did everything for us. He kept in touch with us pretty much on a daily basis to let us know what was going on and even just to check on us.
It gave us closure as a family, a peace, a calming feeling over us that she can rest in peace finally.
Welcome back to Outside the Echo Chamber, on location at Gomart Ballpark, joined now by the owner and CEO of the Charleston Dirty Birds, Andy Shea. Andy, thank you so much for joining us. Talking a little bit about minor league baseball with Rod and what it's meant to the city of Charleston. And I know that you now, as the owner of the Dirty Birds, have a firsthand working knowledge of what minor league baseball in Charleston has been and is about to become. Just your overall thoughts on baseball here, your experience with Lexington and the Legends, and how that's helped you transform this team.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I've been involved with the team when I first bought it about 2.5 years ago. So this is my 3rd season, but my family and I just moved to Charleston about 7 months ago. And so I've really had the opportunity to be more immersed, meet more people, come to the ballpark a heck of a lot more. I've got my back little corner former storage room office. And I love it. I love this community because I think that everyone is just so excited to support. And it's just one of those things that keeps going, it's really cyclical, because then the more support, then the more that we're able to do, and the more that we're able to, really utilize this amazingly beautiful stadium with this amazing, beautiful turf. And, the fans here come earlier than I've ever seen before, and they leave later than I've ever seen before. I mean, they are very, very passionate about the team, but, I think above that is passionate about the community.
Yeah, and we talked to Rod about how it's gone, back in the 70s, the AAA affiliate where the draw was the baseball. Now it's a bit of a different game, both figuratively and literally, and you have seen that firsthand as well. Dealt with the same thing in Lexington when in 2019, I believe, when Major League Baseball said, we're going to contract, and you kind of knew what was coming. You went the independent route. That comes with a lot of drawbacks, but also with some opportunities, and you get to do things that you might not be able to do if you were still affiliated with the majors.
Well, you're exactly right. And, funny enough, I was just having this conversation with my dad earlier. I mean, the only difference is looking at it from an investment standpoint, from the fans, from the employees, from everything else, from the community. I think it's pretty much better across the board. I mean, it is more accomplished baseball players. It is better baseball players. I mean, these guys are significantly stronger, hit it harder, more mature, more kind of fine-tuned than the guys that we had in Lexington and Charleston.
The raw
who were single A, that were 18, that were essentially freshmen in college, that very well may have gone on to have tremendous MLB careers. But at that given moment, Julio Rodriguez was not who he is today. Jose Altuve in Lexington was not who he is today. And Altuve, if anyone claims that he was going to be a future MVP, they're freaking lying, because
5'7".
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was the product of having a horrible system, so he just kept getting an opportunity. You know, and has gone on to, it's not a horrible system, and he's had a heck of a career. But you know, really and truly having the opportunity that there are players and that there are employees and that they live here, and that, you know, you look at a guy like our player pitching coach, Joe Testa, who he moved here a month or so before anyone else on the team did, because he just really wanted to be back in Charleston for his third year. He is a big brother in Big Brothers Big Sisters. He's already had, I think, to date, it's about 3 of these youth camps, and by the end of the year, I think we'll be at around 10, which is, or things that we maybe had 1 when we were affiliated, that was very 2 hours probably on the dot. Joe comes early, stays late. He gets to know these kids. It's the coolest thing ever, seeing him interact with the kids before the game and after and everything like that. And, you know, the other piece of what Joe did, Joe, you know, I should know this, he probably went to at least 50 different schools within an hour and 45 minutes or so from here, talking about his 5-tool character. It wasn't 5-tool baseball, it was 5-tool character of going into these schools and bringing a voucher to a game. And, you know, it was really, really amazing. It's so cool meeting parents here who say that their kids met the Dirty Birds.
Right.
And it's just awesome.
And, you know, when you're affiliated with your major league team and you're a single A squad, which we had here for a while with the Power, I mean, the fact of the matter is they just look at Charleston as a stepping stone. They're like, okay, the quicker I can get out of here, the better it is for my career. You brought up a great point with Joe. These guys are ingrained in the community in a lot of ways, and they're part of the fabric of what this is and what this area means.
Absolutely. 3 different times Joe Testa has chosen to come here. It's not like when you're affiliated and you're shipped here.
Right.
You don't pick Charleston, West Virginia. You don't pick the Dirty Birds. If you're with whether it was the Mariners, the Pirates, the Brewers, whoever, you're assigned there, whether you're coach or player. Our guys are actively, consciously choosing to be in Charleston, West Virginia. And in Joe's case, it's the 3rd year in a row. I mean, that is very, very, that just tells you a lot, I think.
Yeah. Now, the landscape has changed with minor league baseball. It's not just about the baseball. It's about putting on a show and having a fun atmosphere for families. The Savannah Bananas were in town recently. We talked with Rod a little bit about that. Did you learn anything from that atmosphere and what they've done? It's tough to call what they do pure baseball, because it really isn't. If you read the list of rules that they have, it's more of just an event than anything else. Can you learn from that? Can you draw from that and bring that type of you know, pseudo baseball to Charleston? Is that something that would sell here?
Oh, I think it would. I think it would take a heck of a lot of time. I think what I learned from the short term is everything off of the field. On the field would be a challenge, and who knows how many of these guys would quit if I told them to do a backflip after they caught a fly ball with their shirt off.
It's kind of like Harlem Globetrotters
with their
meets
shirt
baseball.
off, and just, you know, like, you know, whatever the case is. But the thing that, you know, was really, really, really cool about the Bananas is their fan engagement and their interactions off of the field. I mean, they were non-stop at the front gates before and after the game, the suite level during the game. I mean, it was, you know, the right fielder hopped the fence and sat with the fans out there for half an inning. I mean, it was the coolest thing ever. So that stuff we have already started implementing. And I mean, I think it makes a major cool difference seeing 5 of our players walk around the concourse for 45 minutes before the game. I mean, that's something you definitely can't do at an MLB. You won't see at an MLB game, and you've never seen in most parks either. So having that intimacy and that engagement, those are things we have and can start doing right away.
And that's what gets the little guys hooked, right? You know,
absolutely.
I have 3 young boys, and they would love to see these guys play baseball. They don't know the difference between this and the major leagues. They just see guys out there playing baseball at a high level, and to have that kind of interaction with them would be great.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's the jersey. I mean, that's what's, you know, it's most of the kids, when we had 2 packed sellout crowds for our Grand Slam school days, ridiculously cool, special, just awesome, awesome moments. Tough to think that any of them knew what our player stats were, what their baseball resumes were, who was hitting third. They were playing for the Dirty Birds, and that's what was so awesome and special. And having their interactions before, during, and after the game, I mean, it truly is priceless.
What did you learn from your time in Lexington? It's funny because on your LinkedIn page, the first thing is expert in crisis management.
Well,
I don't know how that comes in handy with minor league baseball, but I'm sure it plays somehow.
Well, a few months after I became the general manager was when there was the 2008 financial crisis of everything. So I mean, that in itself, while that may not have been directly to us, it certainly had its trickle down. And when you think about two of the biggest factors of our business model is in event management, events, corporate outings, and sponsorships, what are the two things that every company, whether it's Bank of America to your local communities, they cut? Marketing and events.
Wow.
So anyway, so that was a little taste of it. When a tornado blew down the right field wall overnight, and we had to play the next day. So it's none of it's like life or death, but a lot of it is weather related. I mean, we had an amazing, giant, super great 2-day music festival there that tore the living everything out of the field, and we had a game 3 days later.
Good luck.
So we worked round the clock, and we had not a great crowd Tuesday, but it was one of those ones where I can still shut my eyes and remember it because I was so proud of just everyone around us that we were playing. Because I think plenty of people could have thrown in the towel and just said we can't play for a week. We worked round the clock and we got going.
What's your vision of what minor league baseball could be here in Charleston and where you might be able to take it?
I think it's a blend of the bananas and where we're at. I think that, having that entertainment aspect. I mean, here's one that, I just saw our manager walk by, and I'm sure he would cringe if he heard me say it. But the Bananas played music from before gates open till after the game. Those things add such a huge element to just the atmosphere, absolutely. So, having that entertainment atmosphere that, I tell all the staff here, so that it hits all your senses, so that, you have the grill going on right here all the time, so it hits your smells. You have the awesome visuals that are clean, bright, everything. It hits your sights. You've got the music, the fun, gets your audio. Having all of that and doing it for a sustained period, of course, I think that's the goal, at least for us short term. And I think long term, it's that, kind of times 10, doing how can you do that for every single one of our baseball games, but then every single one of the events that we have here as well.
Now, you got your start as, if I read this right, as basically a box office guy and then parking cars in Lexington for the Legends, worked your way up, and at one point owned 2 different teams in the same league. Whatever made you decide during that process and during that journey that, hey, you know what I really want to do is own minor league baseball teams?
Well, I think it was, when I first moved to Lexington, I said I'm going to be there for 1 season. Then I got like a 6-month extension on my lease or something like that, and it was like, okay, I'll be there for 2 seasons. And then it was really around that 3rd season time where I was like, okay, I need to be awesome at what I'm doing before I start thinking about what might be next. As I'm sure so many other people that grew up in the Philadelphia area or whatever, I thought I wanted to be the GM of the Phillies. So I was thinking about that more than I was my current job, and I probably wasn't totally excelling at my current job. So I think it was around that 3rd year when I was like, I want to do absolutely awesome at what I'm doing and then see where that goes. And then I started loving it. I started meeting more people. I started really loving that on the day-to-day. So as time went on, I love this industry. I mean, I love this company, but I love this industry. It is so fun meeting new people, doing new things literally every single day. And then how can you do them better?
Right. So is there a future for minor league baseball here in Charleston? I mean, a lot of people say, it'll never last. We don't have the population. We don't have the fan base. Is there a way to say, well, we do. We just have to do things a little differently?
I don't know how it wouldn't last, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that the fan base is absolutely perfect. I think that, population is population, and I don't know what that, I've talked about that a bunch the last 7 months of how do you really look at that? What's the difference between a market that has our population versus Lexington's that also has University of Kentucky, every single athletic thing that they have, right. Keeneland racetrack and everything else. What's the population that's more successful and viable for our industry? I could make a case that it's us. So in any event, I think that the future looks strong. I think it looks absolutely amazing. Having this beautiful artificial turf is an A1 step in the right direction. That helps us tremendously. And what it helps us do, not only excel with baseball and professional baseball, but high school football, concerts, events in the winter. I mean, we've got some really, really cool things that will be announced in the next month.
And there was just, if I'm getting this correctly, a new 10-year lease or agreement signed between the ballpark and the city. So does that lock baseball in for 10 years, or is that just more of like a business model?
That particular lease is going to have to get revised, but the concept is still there. So yes, it is locked in. I mean, I'm here. My family loves being here. You know, who knows what tomorrow is for anyone any day. But I can't say that, I mean, where we're trending and where things are looking right now is just positive across the board. And I'm having a hell of a lot of fun. So, I mean, that's pretty important to me.
Well, it's a big weekend in Charleston. Regatta's here this weekend. It's going to bring in a lot of new eyeballs that aren't in Charleston every weekend. So a chance for you to maybe pitch right now to people to come out to the ballpark and check out something that they might not have seen before. What's going on this weekend? I know you got a big event Monday, and then beyond that, what's down the line for the rest of the season?
Oh yeah, so we've got the big giant Independence Day celebration on Monday the 3rd, which will be a blast, literally and figuratively. We've got some cool stuff in terms of giveaways. They're a legit awesome party here Saturday for our game in the afternoon. So we've got some really, really awesome stuff. We're on the cusp of announcing our headliners for the inaugural Down and Dirty Music Festival. And then we've got a heck of a lot of games here in the next month or so where we've got, you know, whether it's beer specials, giveaways, fireworks, you name it. Value, value, value. That's what we try and emphasize like crazy.
One of the criticisms in the past has been that the owners of the team weren't really invested in Charleston, that they were doing it for their own reasons. There was, you know, maybe trying to move the team, maybe trying to get an investment or a return on that. What's your take on that, and what do you say to people? What's the feedback been about your tenure here so far and what you've been able to do with this team?
Well, I mean, I can't really, I've heard certain stuff like that. Oh, not even just them. I mean, in this industry, you hear that, you see that, whatever the case is. I mean, ironically, Savannah used to have a team that was in the South Atlantic League with us, and that owner did
Sand
that.
Gnats, I
Yep,
believe.
and they bounced and left Savannah with a empty ballpark, and I can't imagine Savannah is regretting not having low attending. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I think that, you know, a couple of the keys that are essential for our industry is, one, the stadium and the lease and or relationship with the city, and ours is phenomenal. I don't, especially compared to my other experiences, but I don't know how it could get that much better in terms of a true invested partnership. So that is absolutely vital and integral for me personally, I think, as well as just baseball here. I think the second piece is then the management / ownership of always looking at now, but also how do you invest in the facility and the community so that it keeps growing and people are interested and excited and intrigued to come back. So I think we've already done a really, really positive job with that from a physical structure stadium standpoint. And then as we start developing some of these programs and presence out in the community, it is pretty exciting. Again, I love it. I love meeting new people. So being able to be part of these programs, whether it's with the school systems, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, United Way, you know, you name it. We're always open, and I think it stands to reason that we're in a very, if not the best position we've ever been.
It's amazing how that works. You become part of the community. It's harder for them to kick you out.
Well, that's real as well. Yes, exactly.
What's the most important lesson you've learned since you've been here in Charleston?
You know what? That's everything has been so positive. So, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of positive lessons out there. I think the best thing is it doesn't hurt to ask. I mean, I think that, you know, there are a lot of things that, whether it's potential partnerships, clients, entertainment, fun stuff, whatever it may be, that I think that a lot of people just here never really asked. And now that we're asking and we're growing internally, externally, everything, you know, it is paying off in terms of who we are in the community.
All right, Andy Shea,
Awesome.
owner and CEO of the Dirty Birds. Thanks for your time, sir. We've reached the 7th inning stretch, but we'll be right back with more Outside the Echo Chamber after this.
Make sure you are informed with HD Media. We are leading the state in local, digital, and print media. We are storytellers. We focus on education, health, entertainment, politics, opinions, sports, and the outdoors through our websites, print, or social and mobile apps. We work every day to enhance the lives of our customers by informing, entertaining, and empowering our readers in the communities we serve. We are HD Media.
Welcome back to Outside the Echo Chamber. Of course, a big weekend in Charleston with regatta going on, but also the Dirty Birds are in town through Monday, so a good chance to come on out for some baseball. And we want to thank our guest today, Dirty Birds owner and CEO Andy Shea, the unofficial ambassador of minor league baseball in Charleston, Rod Blackstone, and of course, thank you for joining us on another episode of Outside the Echo Chamber. Until next time, I'm Rick Lord. Take care.